Hello, Penny from Midwinter Minis here. In this episode, we're going to take a quick break from our Blackstone Fortress speed painting series to give you a quick tip on adding texture to your MDF terrain. Laser cut MDF models are a really cool, really cheap way of adding more scenery, terrain, and even miniatures to your tabletop games. Also, when they arrive, they smell like really heavily smoked bacon, which is a bonus. There are loads of companies all around the world that make cool kits, and you can get tons of them on eBay. Guy has picked up quite a few little things from these billboards that he painted up in this cool Fallout theme, line of sight blocking cargo containers, and ruins to hide models in. Even though you can paint them up to look really good, I always thought that they looked a bit too perfectly smooth and not really gritty or real enough. Last weekend, we went on a little stroll into town and popped into Flying Tiger, which is like a little shop, kind of like a small things IKEA. And I noticed these little tubs of texture paste, and because I'm such a nice person, I pointed them out to Guy because I thought they might be useful. I think they're usually used for adding texture to canvases before you paint on them, and for things like paper craft and card making, but I thought 40k or something else might have a use for it. We bought two different types, a smooth, almost plaster-like one, and a more gritty, grainy paste. To test them out, Guy tried it on this cyber tower from TT Combat. He wanted it to match the sandstone Necrons theme from previous videos, but he didn't want to use all his precious Agrellan earth and Armageddon dust. Oh my goodness, those names. So he used a large, firm brush to dab the paste on, stippling it to remove brush strokes, and then filling gaps where MDF sheets join together. If the paint goes anywhere you don't want, you can just wipe it away with your finger. In this close-up, you can see that it's really effective at filling little gaps. Of course, if you just wanted to use it to fill the gaps but don't want the texture, you can just wipe off the surface stuff and leave it in the recesses. As this was just a test, he only did one face of the cyber tower, but after just 2 hours it had dried really, really hard. One of the good things about this paste was that it's not very moist. It's quite dry already, so it doesn't shrink as it cures, and the low water content means there's not much moisture for the MDF to soak up and warp and change the shape. Guy primed the model grey just to test it, and sure enough it stayed strong and looked really good actually. He added more all over the model using the same technique as before and made sure to fill up the gaps. While you're watching Guy do that, just a little shout out to Liam and Joel. Thank you so much for your donations to Midwinter Minis last week. We really appreciate it. To see how the smooth texture paste worked out, he painted up the model in the same scheme as the sandstone Necrons, so that's a spray prime with Zandri dust, a wash with his DIY dip wash. Check out the video suggestion that just popped up if you want to see how to make it yourself. When that was dry, he dry brushed it back up to colour with Zandri dust and dry brushed highlights with Ushabti Bone and Screaming Skull. Who comes up with these names? Oh my god. I didn't even see that you'd written that, and I was going to say that anyway. Can't pronounce half of them. As you can see, the texture really adds a bit of realism to the model and seems robust enough to game with and store away without being too precious about it coming off. After that, he did the blues following the steps in his Necrons tutorial. Check that out if you haven't seen it already. They look cool and it's pretty easy. While you're watching Guy ruin a paintbrush by jamming it into those recesses, we want to quickly also thank Giles and David for their donations since the last videos. Thanks guys, you're awesome. Wondering what that thicker paste was like? Well, Guy tried it out on an old Warhammer Fantasy square base just to test it again, smearing it on with a stiff brush and wiping it away from the rims with his fingers. It dried rock hard in about 2 hours, Then you primed it, gave it a quick wash with Nuln oil, and once that was dry, gave it a light dry brush of white, and then painted the rims black. So basically, if you're looking for a super fast, cool looking and not very messy way of making ash, earth or muddy bases for your models, texture paste would be a really good way of doing it. It's pretty cheap compared to the Citadel texture paints. These big tubs only cost us £3 each, the same price as stuff like Armageddon Dust and Astro Granite Debris, blimey, but you get 5 times more with the texture paste. Anyway, that's it for this quick tips and tricks video. In the next video, we're going back to Blackstone Fortress. Guy's going to show you a quick, cheaty way to paint your Blackstone Fortress bases using a pretty boring household item. The kind of thing you'd find in most home stores, maybe chemists too. What do you think it could be? Let us know in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe. Although honestly, there's been like 5,000 new subscribers in the last month and Guy has not shut up about it.
It's exciting.
Catch you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.
What is the household item? You haven't even told me.
Secrets.